BoLS fans, Stable Laid back, and I've got a special guest with me today.
Larry Vela.
How you doing?
What's going on?
All right, and we're back with the Wings of Glory World War II Battle of Britain starter pack.
I'm super excited about this. You wanna know why?
Why?
Internet, because I'm a pilot.
Yeah, Larry, if you don't know, is a big fan of planes. BoLS Studio is heavily decorated with his collection of model planes and stuff.
And as part of that, many years back, I got my private pilot's license. So I love World War II airplanes.
Yes.
Really all airplanes.
All airplanes. Especially, I mean, World War II is not really your passion, though, right?
No, not really. Not really.
His passion is more interwar, World War I. But he can pull a few of these maneuvers, I'm sure. So.
Golden. Oh yeah, yeah. In my Cessna all the time.
Yeah, all the time
in the Cessna.
Absolutely. Maybe someday we'll get that on camera.
No.
But yeah, so this is the starter pack, and what do we got in the starter pack, Larry?
So we have Wings of Glory. This is a starter pack. It lets you. It gets you into the Ares games. This game system.
Mm-hmm.
This game system. Has existed previously for a great many years. It started off originally as a World War I game, and
it's very similar. In fact, in a lot of ways, it's the predecessor to like X-Wing and some of the other games like
this
that.
game, which has been around for some time, and we are now looking at but this is brand new, so it is a themed box set. You get 4 planes in it. It lets you recreate the Battle of Britain. It's World War II, obviously, but rules-wise, very similar. So if you've played Wings of Glory before or heard of it, it is this. You can just dive right in.
Right.
This game, I would definitely say. I'm not going to say it's you know. I'm not going to say that X-Wing copied this game, because every game is based.
It's different.
It's different, but you could definitely. There's definitely a lot of lineage there.
Sure, and I would say in a lot of ways, Wings of Glory is kind of the grandfather of a lot of the modern games that we're seeing coming out.
Yes.
That use kind of cards and come with their own little rulers, that their own special.
Yeah, and there's arcs and
stuff.
phases and maneuver. Yeah, and you have a set of maneuvers that are printed on a card, and you physically move. Yeah, so it's one of those types of games. So we have. This one is great because you can just dive right into it. You get 4 planes, so you're going to be able to actually do kind of nice looking games.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just, one-on-one. And of course it's Battle of Britain themed, so it has a very nice historical, it's a very small particular battle. It's famous, everyone knows what it is.
Absolutely. I mean, probably the most famous fighter battle in history, right?
Yes, yeah. Absolutely. And we have, of course, it's the classic Germany versus Great Britain matchup. We have the Luftwaffe versus the RAF, and we have 2 ME-109s.
The E version?
BF-109s, actually, to be specific, versus 2 Supermarine Spitfires. Yeah. So the classic fighters that everyone expects to be in there, even though the Spitfires were actually not in any way like the main.
Right.
The main.
That was really like the Hurricane.
It was the Hurricane. Yeah. Was available to the RAF in just huge numbers. Yeah. So the Hurricane did all the work. The Spitfire got all the glory.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
But this is a great game if you're into any kind of dogfighting games, historicals, or if you're making the move over from some of the there's a lot of video games now that are doing stuff like that. War Thunder is one of the really popular online games that does a lot of Battle of Britain stuff. So.
This game is for aerial combat. Plays really fast. The rules are really tight and very simple. Yeah. So let's flip it over really quick just to see what we got, get a general idea of what we're talking about here. You can see, you're gonna play it over a terrain, over a plain mat of some type. A variety of companies, including Ares, makes very pretty, nice, kind of I'm in the air, big scale maps that would look good for an aerial game.
I mean, I'm sure for these kind of games, you could just print out some old black and white maps of aerial photography we took of.
There's some really pretty ones I've seen of like coastal towns on the Mediterranean. So you get like the harbor with all the ships, and it's very cool.
Yeah.
We have we have our models. They're on variable height flight stands, clear plastic bases. There's decks of maneuver cards. There's a range ruler that you use to determine tokens. Sound familiar? Yeah. And if it sounds familiar, these guys did it first.
Yes.
That's all I'm gonna say. So
the game takes about 30 minutes to play, I think.
Yep.
Kind of your standard game.
Yep.
And it comes with all the stuff you need to do that right now.
Yep.
So
2+ people and a front end. All right, so here we go. We're gonna open her up for you guys. Here we go. Wings of Glory, come on.
We did take the plastic wrap
we did
off just a minute ago.
We have previously removed it. Okay, so what do we got here? First thing we have is the most important part, the manufacturer catalog.
Absolutely.
Ares Games makes a whole bunch of other stuff. They do make their, they make
War of the
Rings.
Yeah,
Battle of Five Armies. The big games that are really famous that they're known for is they make Age of Sail, which is
this but with ships.
Yes, this but with ships, and then they make Wings of Glory in both World War II and World War I.
And I think that's great. You can see that they do have these huge bombers, so like you can see the World War II one. That's I don't know if it's out yet, but
that is a B-17.
Yeah,
and it's really sexy.
It's much
all right. Done with that. Okay, so what do we got here? We have the main pack. We're gonna take that guy out. We're gonna pull the shrink wrap off this guy in just a second.
All right.
So this is your rule book and all your tokens that are necessary to play the game. We're gonna go over those in a little bit. Move that to the side. Obviously, what everyone is looking at is you got the 4 airplanes. Let's take one of these out. Let me see if I can do it. Number 1 rule of.
And Wings of Glory always has some really nice pre-painted models. They're probably one of the first that really started the pre-painted like miniature game thing as trend as well.
These are really, really nice scale. I'm gonna hold it way up to the camera.
Outside of like HeroClix, I suppose.
It's pretty good. There's good, solid markings on it. You can see everything. I'm gonna flip that over. It has a good paint scheme on it. You get the bottom of it. You get the little peg. That's where it's gonna go into the flying base. I'm gonna put that to the side. And we're gonna show you the Spitfire. Let's grab this guy. These things are kind of tricky because you have to. You don't want to break them. The propellers do not turn. Don't try it.
Unfortunately.
Don't try this at home. All right, so there's a Spitfire. I'm going to show you that right there. Focus on that. Supermarine Spitfire. This is a Mark I, a very, very early Mark. Look at that. Look at those that classic, that beautiful, you know, to this day considered to have one of the most beautiful wings in the history of aviation.
And I think one thing that's interesting that I like about this box is that even though there's 2 of the planes are matched, there's 2 of each one.
Yes.
They have different markings on them.
Oh.
So you can actually tell them apart. That Spitfire, for instance, it's got a little P on the side. It's a P, and then this other one is got a 0 or an O on it.
Right. Let's see if I can get it. Hold on a second. There it is.
Yeah, you can
see the markings on the side of that DW and the P. Okay.
And then the
other one.
Yeah. And the German ones is number 13 and number 5.
You are right. Look at that. Yeah. So there are actually differences. So you can tell the planes apart.
And that's pretty rare. In most of these games, you have to use some kind of marker to tell them apart. These actually came pre-numbered, which I do really like. Yep.
Pre-painted. Yep. One. Yeah. On the German planes. Let's see if I can hold them both up here. You can see these. On the Messerschmitts, we have right there. We have a number 5 and 13.
Yeah.
So they are actually different. Very handy. Okay. So what else do we have in this box set? We have the clear plastic trays, bases, for each of the planes, and these have arcs of fire and all kinds of basic stats on them. They also have the hole in them because you're going to be using the clear plastic pegs to hold the planes up. And in Wings of Glory, which are right here, and you get 4 of these per plane, and that's actually a pretty interesting thing. We're going to tell you about that. So, as opposed to a lot of other games, those pegs matter.
Right.
So you use those pegs. Those pegs stack. They remind me of the types of pegs that you see in X-Wing, except that as opposed to say when you assemble an X-Wing plane, you get the 2 really long, skinny support pegs.
You put them together.
These are, and as you know, if you mess with those too much, they're gonna, they're delicate.
Disaster.
These are designed to be super sturdy. They're big and thick and rather squat, and that's because they stack. They stack from 1 to 4, and they represent the altitude level that the plane's at.
Right.
So you can immediately just look, and you'll know what level. And in this game, there are 4 altitude levels.
So you'll be changing them a lot.
In the basic rules.
And we've also got your maneuver cards for each of the planes. So each plane, rather than having some kind of dial or something, has a unique maneuver deck that it can use. This represents the different things it can do.
So you get 2 decks for the Spitfire, 2 decks for the Messerschmitts.
And then you get kind of a generic deck.
Yeah, that is used for bombing and for just kind of special non-plane specific things. So we're going to open one of these guys up, and we'll be right back, and we're going to open some of these up and take a look at the rules.
Right.
So we've taken the shrink wrap off of the big stack of stuff that was in there. So first of all, we have our rule book, how to play the game. Soft cover, full color, pretty short.
Pretty standard for these box sets.
40 to 42 pages. We're going to come back to this over here. You have a little pamphlet of missions. So these are your Battle of Britain missions, and these are specifically missions that are designed for the Battle of Britain. Bombs over Dover, Battle over Waterloo, the Blitz, the Hardest Day. So you get a whole bunch of missions, specific missions. And then we have, these are
your consoles, your playing consoles.
Your playing consoles.
Those are the German consoles because they're gray.
Yeah, and there's a pair of them that are green. So we have, you cut them out, and you basically have a place to put 2 cards, and we'll get to that later. And then you have a place to put a discard deck over here.
Or if you're doing the more advanced rules,
you get all kinds of.
You can put all your special like ace abilities, bomb targets, things like that.
On the back side. You're going to get several sheets of tokens. And these tokens are used for a variety of things. So first of all, there's a whole bunch of these guys. These are the ABCDs. These are your damage tokens, which Wings of Glory uses a pretty interesting mechanic for dealing out damage, which is that planes do all of the weapons that planes can fire are categorized as doing damage category A, B, C, or D. Yep. A is the least deadly, D is the most deadly. And when you deal damage out to your opponent, you're going to deal out a number. You're going to randomly reach into the pool and grab the appropriate number of tokens and hand them to the target. Right. So and he gets to, so the recipient of the damage gets to look at the tokens and see whether or not he's been destroyed or not, or and then he puts them next to his plane face down. Yeah. So as the opponent, as the attacker, you can tell that you're doing damage, and that plane's, oh man, that plane has taken, has 4 chits to it, so it's probably almost dead, but you don't really know how close it is.
Especially because you notice a lot of these are actually zeros. So there are misses and bounces on here. Even though your plane's ability to dodge doesn't matter. There's no defense roll or anything. That's all in positioning. Don't get shot, basically. Right. But there is a bit of luck involved. So it may look like a plane has taken a bunch of damage, and actually it's entirely unhurt. Exactly. Or it could be one.
Exactly. Or you could get incredibly lucky and draw the instantly destroyed card if you have a category D weapon, and you would just deal that 1 point of damage, and the recipient would look at it and flip it over and go, oh, I'm dead. I'm dead. Yeah. And just remove his plane. So there's that kind of limited information, which is really neat. So that's actually more than half of the tokens. The rest of them are various
speed and height tokens, special ability tokens. These are kind of critical hits that you use in the more advanced rules. I should point out that there are really like 3 ways of playing this game. It's similar to both Wings of Glory. There's like the basic, which is just your introductory learner game. There's the standard, which has most of these things in it, and then there's like the advanced optional rule version. Right.
For those who want lots of complexity. So you can play this game at different levels. So as an example, these are A, B, C, D also. So if you want to be using critical damage, you mix those into the pool. Or you can pull them out and not do it at all.
And those are like, pilot hit, gas leaks, more explosions.
Yeah, you're on fire.
Engines out, stuff like that.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff. Trailing smoke. So you get all of those tokens.
There's also let's show the movement stick really quickly. That's over there.
Where was
the rage stick, not movement. So the D's, I think.
I'm looking for it. Right there?
Yeah. So this is the range ruler. Like a lot of modern games, it comes with its own range rule. Basically, most of the weapons in this are pretty similar to each other. So they all have the same range, and there's just, are you in range and are you in short range? Those are the only 2 ranges in the game. Right. And if you're in range, you can shoot, you automatically deal damage, and if you're in short range, you can shoot, and generally you automatically do more damage. Or more chits, at least, not necessarily damage.
Yep. We'll show you an airplane as a... obviously, you get the 4 airplanes. We've shown you those, and those airplanes, as an example, come on their own base, and that base has the firing arc in it, marked on it, so you know exactly what. And this will vary from plane to plane. So, as an example, like some of the bombers, like B-17s, are going to have side arcs and rear arcs, and they're not going to have many blind spots at all, as opposed to fighters that obviously you're going to have. But you'll get planes like Stukas that have a rear gunner, as an example, or or 2-seaters. So you get all kinds of cool stuff. The template gives you tells you how much damage the plane inflicts, whether you're firing at short or long range, and then you get your little arrow that you use for your maneuvering, and then how much points of damage you can take, and this thing over here that's in blue, that tells you which maneuver deck you're going to use, which is basically agility.
Right.
So you get, so here's 2 of them. Obviously, you're going to get 4. We've put them here at, we put them at altitude 2.
Yeah.
And we're going to move those aside really quickly, and then we're going to show you the actual decks. A1.
Yeah. So this is the Spitfire deck. You'll notice that,
which is also maneuver deck A.
Right. So you'll notice first off that all the ships or planes actually come with a plane card. This is your handy reference card. But in situations where you like overlap or can't fit your actual model on the table for some reason, you can use this to substitute for your model.
Right.
Then it'll come with a couple special upgrades on it. So these are some optional upgrades or rules that you can use to kind of give your plane some rules, and then you actually have the maneuver deck, and I won't show off the whole thing.
You can just kind of fan it out just to give you a good idea.
So these are various different maneuvers that you can do.
Yeah, and you get about 20 cards.
Yeah.
And this is maneuver deck A, so the Spitfire is the more maneuverable of the decks. So now we're going to go over and take a look at the 109s. The 109s have used maneuver deck B, which is same thing. You get their card on the air, which you can use as a substitute, and then you have all of the all of their damage. Well, sorry, all of their maneuver cards, and many of the maneuvers are the same, but in general, the Spitfire's maneuver deck A has a couple things that are a little trickier.
And this is going to be one of them. For instance, a big kind of barrel roll to the side.
Right. That maneuver deck B does not have.
Right.
So you're going to be able. So there are differences like that. So let's talk a little bit about the game rules themselves. All right. So the rulebook. We're going to open this guy up.
So this is a completely dice-free game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's no dice at all.
Yeah.
Everything is done with the cards.
You could, I mean, if you didn't mind it not looking as great, you could play it basically just with 2 packs of cards and some chits.
Yes.
Good for traveling or something.
Right. So what comes with it? The planes. You get the 2 decks for your 2 Spitfire pilots, Baker and Korf. 2 Axis planes. 5 yellow and 13 white, and then you have your maneuver decks. You get 4 of them, 2 A's, 2 B's. You have a generic deck, which we didn't show you. We'll show it to you really, really quickly. This is used for advanced missions and scenarios. This is a set of decks that you use to define, say, targets on the ground, anti-aircraft, targets for bombing. So it's basically generic things that are outside that anything could use, and that are mostly related to scenario play.
Right.
So you get that too. And then you have your consoles that we showed you earlier. When they're popped out, they look like that. They kind of look like the letter E because they have 2 spaces there where you put your cards. We'll get to that in a little bit. And you get all your tokens and your rulers.
If you played the World War I version, this is really one of the few places there's actual differences is in the consoles. Their consoles in World War I are a little more complicated. You have a little more planning ahead.
Yeah. Because the planes are moving slower.
Yeah.
And so this game is a little more frenetic. It's a little more action.
Yep.
Whereas the World War I has a little more. It's more of a pre-planning kind of.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so big giant index of all of the damage. So we're just going to be showing you the basic rules, and then we're going to go really, really quickly and skim over the advanced. So you're going to be setting it up. You're going to be you're going to play until one side is shot out of the sky. Mm-hmm. And you get the anatomy of a card, so you know how it works. So there's your plane, you get your damage arc, you have what all of the things mean. They give you the definition of how the clear plastic base works and what all those symbols mean. It's pretty much identical to what's on this.
Right.
And then you have all the different parts of a maneuver card and what all the maneuvers mean. And then each game turn is a planning phase. That's where you're going to be selecting which maneuver you want to do, and you'll place that maneuver face down into one of the slots on your maneuver console.
Yep.
Then you are going to all move simultaneously. So movement in this game is simultaneous. How it's going to work is we're going to show you. an example of it with I'll use so I have my 109, and I have chosen this card. And I'm going to do this maneuver right here with the blue arrow. So what you do is you'll notice at the front of the card, there at the front of your clear plastic stand, you have a little marker that lines up. You line that up with the back of the card with the maneuver that you're doing, so it goes like that. Then you pick up your base, and you move it, and you line it up to where the arrow is, and there's a line right there. So you move there, and it's all clear plastic, so you can see under it. And then once you know where it is, you take the card off, and that's your maneuver.
Yep.
So planes are moving, your units are moving very, and some of these maneuvers are pretty sharp turns. Yeah. But as you can see, all of these maneuvers fit within this card. Yeah. So we're not talking about, you're not seeing the huge, really large maneuvers that you see in other
dogfighting games.
Where sometimes you see planes moving 4 or 5 base units at a time swinging around. So in this game, it is very, but in Wings of Glory, you're going to be playing a lot of turns.
Yeah. So there's as you can see, it's pretty rare that you're going to one-hit somebody. Much more likely you're going to spend several turns shooting somebody up. And maneuvering around, having initial passes. There are actually advanced rules for, ammo and fuel and stuff like that.
And then I'm going to pop this thing out so that you get an idea of how the game works overall. So we showed you how movement works, how the actual kind of the mechanic of the game that makes it interesting is the pre-planning part. So how you normally do it is, let's say that this had been my maneuver. We'll say that I put my maneuver there, and then I exposed it, and I moved and did it, and then once I did it, it's face up. So what happens is once it's done, I will move that over to this side, so that both players know that's what I did last turn, so they can remember, and then I will have to pick what my next maneuver for next turn is going to be, and I'll do it like that.
And that's going to be in the basic version. Kind of the standard version you'll also see played a lot. You actually pick an entirely turn ahead. So you'd start off the game like this.
With 2.
And then on turn 1, you would reveal this maneuver, discard it, move this one over, pick the next turn. So you're always kind of a turn behind in reaction.
Right. And that's definitely, and that is the big, this mechanic here is the biggest difference between this game, the World War II version, and the World War I version. So in this one, you're basically thinking 1 turn ahead, well, 1 maneuver ahead.
Right.
This is all taking place during the same turn. Whereas in the World War I game, there's actually 3 of those slots. So you're having to, you can really,
3 cards at a time.
You can really misguess and find yourself well out of position. Yep. So in this one, it's going to be a little faster and more precise.
Yeah.
And that is.
And that's basically it. You maneuver, and then after everyone maneuvers, you get to shoot.
We'll talk about shooting a little bit, Abe.
Yeah, we've kind of covered a lot of that already, but again, basically.
So we'll say as an example that at the end of the maneuver phase, we end up with a situation that looks like this. So now what's going to happen?
So I'm the British player, and I've flown this pretty poorly, so I measure and I go.
You put my card. So
I can't
you put you put this in contact with this there's a little pip. So it's which is basically the peg.
Yeah.
And you can obviously keep this. Your maneuver stick has to be within your arc.
Yep.
And so he goes. And you can fire out to there. And obviously there are no targets.
Yeah.
So he's in bad shape. Now the
Larry here with the Messerschmitt.
I'm gonna check and I'm gonna say does any part of this guy's base can be touched with any part of this stick as long as it's within my arc and originates at the base? Clearly the answer is yes, so that means I can fire.
And more than that, he's actually at close range.
I'm at close range because I'm in the first half of the stick, which means I look on my damage card there, and what does it say for close range?
It's going to be 1A and 2Cs.
So I'll reach into my... we're not going to punch all these out, but we showed you previously. So you have all of your ABCs. So I will reach into the pots of damage tokens, and I'll randomly draw an A and 2 Cs and hand them to the British player.
Right. And then I would look at them, see if my ship is dead, my plane is dead or not. And kind of keep that secret. And all shooting is done simultaneously.
Yep.
So even if I explode that turn, I still get to shoot back.
Exactly. If we had ended up like this, we would both be able to fire at each other, and we would both just look and hand our damage tokens to each other. There's no defense in this game.
No.
Like if you're in the concept of defense is simply
don't get shot.
Well, it's don't get shot, and it's built into the fact that the defense that the damage tokens have a lot of zeros.
Right.
So you can get lucky, and in fact, some of those things like some of those decks, some of those damage bands, over 50% of the tokens within those damage bands are zeros.
Are zeros, yeah.
So there's a good chance of miss. So it's not guaranteed damage, but it's a guaranteed you get to shoot and something happens.
Right. And I mean, it's highly possible that we could both explode in this situation.
Sure.
But also getting shot's not necessarily the end of the world. As you can see, we both have 17
points of damage.
Resistance.
Yep.
And while there are some things that are going to do one hit, a lot of the damage is going to do like 1 to 5.
Right.
1, 2, 3, 5 damage.
Yeah.
So you can take several actual hits.
Yep.
And be fine still.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you're not getting critted, there's not really any degradation of ability to fight.
And that, in a nutshell, is
Wings of Glory.
Wings of Glory.
Yeah.
So thanks for watching, and we will talk to you guys soon.